Hello everyone, my name is Xiomaro and welcome back to Apex Legends. So today I want to talk a little bit about time to kill and its relation to armor, helmets, how reliably you can hit shots and all that kind of stuff. Reason being, I'm going to be making a video about choosing a weapon pretty soon, and I just know that I'm going to be tempted to just totally derail the video and talk about all the stats of all the different guns. So instead of rolling two videos into one, I figured I'd start by talking about the more mathsy side of things first, and that way when I do the weapon video I can keep it a bit more short and sweet. I'm going to presume you know what time to kill means, but in case you don't, it's pretty simple. It's just the time it takes to kill someone. For example, an R99 can kill a 200 HP target in 0.97 seconds, and that's without any headshots. But as you may have guessed from the number I just threw at you, time to kill numbers usually presume 100% accuracy. And as I'm sure you're fully aware, no one is 100% accurate. Hell, even most aimbots aren't 100% accurate to avoid detection. So realistic times to kill are usually longer. I was going to be using other people's weapon charts, but after I started making this video, some of the numbers seemed off. And after doing a little fact checking of my own, I realized some of the numbers were indeed off. If you're interested, I'll explain my full methodology at the end of the video for people who care, but the short version is I recorded some footage at 120 FPS, that's the highest OBS will allow, mostly in the practice range. I then measured the sound peaks of the first shot in the magazine to the last. That gave me a pretty accurate measurement, but just to be sure I compared it to the muzzle flashes, hit markers, and ammo indicators on the guns as well. I'll leave a link to the full weapons chart, which I'll be keeping up to date in the video description. If you want more detail on how I got these numbers, just stick around until the end. For those of you who are less interested in how I got the numbers and care more about why I've done this, well, while weapon stats and time to kill don't give you the full picture, it certainly gives you a starting point when you're evaluating a weapon. However, on some weapons, the time to kill is incredibly misleading. So when is time to kill useful? Well, let's start with an example. With level 3 armor and a helmet, technically, the Devotion can kill faster than a wingman with a skull piercer. Now, intuitively that feels wrong, right? Well, yeah. The time to kill on the Devotion doesn't take into account the time it takes to spin up to its full 900 RPM, and come on, even when it does spin up, you're not going to be hitting constant headshots at 900 RPM. With a wingman on the other hand, while you're not going to be doing it all the time, hitting all headshots at full speed is well within the realms of possibility. So the wingman's time to kill, while it is a best case scenario, you can actually look at the wingman's time to kill as a real possibility. But back to the Devotion, due to its insane recoil, even getting 100% accuracy on body shots is unlikely, so even the body shot time to kill is pretty unrealistic. So why bother with time to kill at all then? Well, while you're unlikely to hit the theoretical shortest time to kill on rapid fire weapons, it still gives you something to go on when you compare like with like. Take for example the R301 and the R99. Although there's not much in it, the R99 has a shorter time to kill than the R301. Sure, you're not going to be hitting the theoretical maximum on either, but given the same accuracy on both, you can still infer that the R99 is going to kill someone faster than the R301 with body shots. Likewise, you could compare the R301 with the Flatline and make the same conclusions. And side note, when you look at the numbers, the R301 really does make all the other assault rifles look kind of garbage, doesn't it? But back to the R99 and 301, when you look at the headshot time to kill, the R301 pulls ahead of the R99 in a big way, thanks to its higher headshot multiplier. As I've already said, it's almost impossible to get 100% headshots even with good aim with a fast firing weapon. But even with a few headshots thrown in, the R301 and R99 will look very comparable. Sure, the slightly shorter time to kill on body shots on the R99 will still be great when you catch people off guard. But when you look at the numbers, the R301 does seem pretty competitive, even at close range. So I guess you could say picking one or the other is just down to preference, right? And yeah, it totally is. But there is one area where the R301 decisively pulls ahead of the R99: long distance. If you weren't already aware, there is no damage fall off in Apex Legends. Actually, there is one exception. The Havoc with a select fire receiver is actually hit scan and does have damage fall off. But ignoring the Havoc, there's no damage fall off. But what the game does have is a maximum headshot range, and it varies a lot between the different weapons. I'm still verifying the numbers for the longer range weapons, but one thing is for sure, submachine guns can't physically get headshots beyond 40 meters. And that's a pretty big deal when you're choosing whether or not you should swap that R99 for an R301. not only does the R301 have a superior headshot modifier, it can also get headshots at up to 300 meters. So in any fight beyond 40 meters, and 40 meters isn't really that far, the R301 looks like a really good bet. Truthfully though, and I'm sure a lot of you are thinking this as I'm saying it, there's a lot to be said for how a weapon feels to you, and of course, your playstyle. And that's something I'll get into in my weapons guide. Like, personally, I love the feel of the R99, so I'll always pick it over an R301. But it's still interesting to look at the technical differences between the weapons. So, another interesting comparison is the Peacekeeper and the auto shotgun. With body shots at its maximum fire rate and with all pellets hitting, the Peacekeeper actually outpaces the EVA-8 at all ranges. But in reality, only a few pellets need to miss to turn the Peacekeeper from a 2-shot kill into a 3-shot kill against level 3 armor. So in an actual close-range duel, especially if you can dodge at least one shot from a Peacekeeper, an EVA-8 user could probably win against a Peacekeeper user of equal skill. So why is the Peacekeeper so popular and the EVA-8, while people don't think it's total garbage, it's still seen as a way lower tier weapon? Well, there are 2 reasons. One is burst damage. The ability to deal around 100 damage or more with a split-second peak is huge. Most duels between decent players aren't going to take place away from cover, so the ability to deal huge damage and then get back behind cover is a big deal. And the other reason is the Peacekeeper's choke. In close range, away from cover, the EVA-8 and the Peacekeeper are pretty competitive with each other. But as soon as you put some distance between the 2 players, the Peacekeeper gets a huge advantage with the choke. It's actually kinda insane how tight the Peacekeeper's spread becomes with a choke. I'm sure most of you are already aware of this, but the choke basically allows you to deal the same damage you would up close to people at medium range. So you can do that crazy burst damage to people who are a bit further away. And I guess another advantage the choke gives you, even if you are close range, a tighter spread makes it more likely that all the pellets will hit. So yeah, when you take the choke into consideration, the Peacekeeper does start to make the auto shotgun look like a meme tier weapon. Oh, and speaking of meme tier weapons, do you want to hear something funny? Against level 3 armor, even with all headshots, a Mozambique is literally incapable of killing a 200 HP target in one clip. The P2020 and the RE45 can actually have the same problem, but throw an extended mag on them and they can one-clip someone with 200 HP. Just more reasons why the Mozambique is such a joke. So back on topic, when is a time to kill number actually useful then? Well, when you're looking at weapons with a slower rate of fire, the time to kill can actually be quite realistic when your accuracy is good or you just get a bit lucky. So the 0.67 second time to kill on a longbow against a fully kitted enemy is actually possible. It's not easy, but it could totally happen in a real game. Likewise, getting 3 headshots in rapid succession with a wingman is also totally doable. So the wingman's time to kill isn't necessarily just theoretical either. And I guess you could get 5 headshots in rapid succession with the G7 Scout, but that's where it starts to slip into the realms of, yeah, maybe if you're Shroud. And when it comes to the automatic weapons, looking at the time to kill is only really useful when you're comparing like with like. For example, if you want to compare an R301 with a Flatline, you can say with some confidence that an R301 will probably kill someone around 20% faster. So finally, let's get into how I got my numbers. So the reload numbers I got from Thrill Games chart. I tested a few of them out for myself and they seem accurate enough, so I just went with it. I don't know if you were aware or not, but the blue and purple extended mags actually improve your reload time, so figuring out the exact numbers is on my to-do list. I also need to confirm how many rounds each extended mag adds so I can put that into the chart. The headshot numbers I also got from Thrill Games chart. I have seen people saying that sniper rifles can achieve headshots at greater distances than 750 meters, and I think that might be true, but I still need to confirm that for myself. And speaking of which, I've made this chart available as a Google Sheet rather than a JPEG. That way, as I get more accurate information or things get patched, I can keep it up to date. So here's the bit I did myself. The rounds per minute. Honestly, I would have preferred not to do all of this myself because it would have saved me a lot of time. But after consulting a few different charts, some of the numbers seem to vary quite a lot. So I decided to just test it all for myself. Plus, no one else seems to explain how they got their numbers, so that's why I thought I'd actually explain myself. So here's how I did it. First, I went into the practice range and recorded footage of myself firing every weapon at the highest frame rate I could, 120 FPS, and I made sure my in-game frame rate was at least 120 FPS too. For the single fire weapons, I fired them as fast as I could multiple times to make sure I was definitely firing as fast as possible. I then tried a few different methods to see how long it takes to empty an entire clip. The first thing I tried was measuring the times between the first muzzle flash and the last, but after testing it a bit, it seemed a little inconsistent. Then I tried measuring the damage indicators, but while 120 FPS is fairly high, it definitely wasn't high enough to be as accurate as I would have liked. So finally, I went into my audio editor and analysed the weapon's sounds instead, and that gave me a result I was way more happy with. Basically, I was measuring from the first audio peak of the weapon's initial shot to the first audio peak of the weapon's last shot. I then measured the time it took to empty a clip to an accuracy of 1/10 of a millisecond. I then took the clip size and divided it by the time to empty a clip, and that gave me the weapon's shots per second. Times that by 60 and you have your RPM. In the case of some weapons, like the alternator, my measurements came to really nice round numbers. For the alternator, that's 590. Other weapons came very close to round numbers, and that discrepancy is likely because of maybe the way I measured it, or possibly audio inconsistencies, so for that reason I just rounded them. For example, the RE45 initially came to like 721 RPM, and it's probably safe to assume that it's supposed to be 720 flat. Some of the weapons came to kinda odd numbers, most significantly the R99. What's more annoying is other people's charts seem to vary a lot on the R99's true RPM too. For that reason, I've just left it at the weird number that it landed on, and of course when I can confirm its true fire rate, I'll update the chart. For the time to kill, I measured from the first bullet hitting to the killing blow. There are other ways I could have calculated this. For example, I didn't take a bullet's travel time into account. But the way I see it, let's face it, we're talking about numbers in a vacuum here anyway, so I just left out travel time to keep things simple. If you want to figure out time to kill including travel time, the numbers are totally open to you, so be my guest and make your own calculations. So the last thing I want to explain is why I went with 200 HP targets and purple helmets. Honestly, I'm most interested in looking at the numbers from an endgame perspective. The power of each weapon will look slightly different against opponents with no gear or less gear, but to be perfectly honest, just finding a gun is the most important thing early game, not which gun you have. I think it's just more useful to look at the time to kill with endgame gear, and for the same reason I also calculated damage numbers with hop-ups. So the longbow and wingman will sometimes have slightly longer times to kill without a skull piercer. On the other hand, I didn't include barrel mods, stocks, scopes and all that kind of thing because they don't actually affect your time to kill. Sure, in the real world, they would make it easier to land shots, so you will kill people faster with them, but as far as the raw numbers are concerned, they make no difference. Oh, and I went with time to kill over DPS because I think time to kill is more useful in a shooter. DPS is for World of Warcraft, my dudes. Furthermore, DPS can overlook reload times, which in the case of the Mozambique or the light pistols is actually kind of important. But again, you can easily figure out DPS from my numbers, so be my guest. So there you have it, an updated and hopefully more accurate weapon chart. As I said, I'll keep it up to date as I get new information, and here's hoping the numbers between PC and console don't start to diverge because, oh boy, that would complicate things. But for now, enjoy and keep an eye out for my weapon guide next week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please feel free to subscribe for more gaming guides, news and discussion. And don't forget to check out the links below to Patreon, Discord and Twitch. Until next time, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.